Record. Here we go.
Okay, awesome. There we go.
Okay, super. Thanks, eh? Right. We're all ready to rock and roll. So, welcome to number 3. I hope you all had a good week. Yeah. Bob's growing a little bit more. Yeah. So, today we've got Katinka. She's our breastfeeding guru. She's a lactation consultant, is the word. And Katinka will just give us chat what she does. She is your best friend once you've had your baby, okay? Within the 24 hours of having your baby, please give her a call, and any other time thereafter, just give Katinka, because I promise you she is your best friend, okay? So please, to have successful breastfeeding, if you engage Katinka, it's the best thing in the whole wide world, I promise. So, do you want to talk, or do you want me to?
I'm going to disappear.
Okay, so my dad can just talk. So, okay, over to Katinka. So you've got your
The camera is on here. Hi everyone. So I'm Katinka, and I'm the lactation consultant in Harare. At the moment, still the only one. So whenever anything related to breastfeeding feels hard, that can be in the first minute, maybe the baby is not latching, that can be later on, after 3 weeks, after 6 weeks, after 3 months, whenever something feels is not quite right. The most calls I get are painful nipples. I've got a wonderful laser that I can use for treatments. We can adjust the latch. Sometimes your baby might not grow properly, so you go for your checkup, everything is fine, and the pediatrician says, oh, the weight is not okay. Then come and see me first before you give a bottle or before you do any formula. Okay. If you are in any way concerned, I'm not too sure how this is going for me, then give me a call. I've got a wonderful package that you can book that has got 3 visits. So you come, you pay for the 3 visits, and then I'll accompany you through the first weeks, which is really, really lovely. There's a lot of exchange that we do in between so that you're always on top of the situation with your breastfeeding. Anybody who has heard any horror stories here, anything that is you're fearful about in terms of feeding? Tell me, what are the horror stories out there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So severe engorgement that's accompanied with pain is already a symptom that something is not quite right. On the 3rd to 4th day, your milk starts what we call to come in. So it increases from the small amounts of colostrum that you have to a mature milk. So you jump from 10, 15 mils to 30, 40, 60 mils in one night. And the breasts start to feel full. Mums always ask me, how do I notice that my milk comes in? You cannot miss it. You will feel that they are getting full. Now, if that fullness and that firmness becomes painful, that is now already a symptom that maybe the baby is not suckling properly, or maybe you've had a lot of fluids in labor, so your legs will be swollen, your boobs will be swollen as well. So if there's pain in the breast, it's not normal. Put some cabbage leaves on there, get some cool packs on there, and give me a call. Any other horror stories you've heard?
You always hear the worst stories.
No, they are the only ones. If things go well, you don't get told those things. Yes, the cracked nipples, that's another horror story. The bad thing about the cracked nipples is all the midwives in the avenues and in the trauma center are going to say, no, it's normal, it has to hurt. But it isn't normal. Nature hasn't put pain into the picture. So it hurts because the latch is not deep enough. When the latch is not deep enough, you get that rubbing on the palate, which makes you sore, but also your baby is not drinking properly because the nipple is pinched rather than the baby actually getting milk. So it's not worth gritting your teeth and suffering through it. Instead, take the baby off, make a little change, a little bit down, a little bit up, a little bit in, a little bit out, and try again. The more of the areola is in the baby's mouth, the more comfortable it is. If you've tried a couple of things and you are still not comfortable, give me a call before you start bleeding. Okay, we don't want any deep fissures. I've just come now from a girl who waited a little bit too long and she's got 3rd-degree wounds on her nipples, both sides. And I said, whether you can afford it or not, I'm coming to do a laser treatment for you. Pay me, don't pay me, I don't care. I'm pitching up at your house right now. It's terrible if you are sore.
What is the laser treatment?
It's called low-level laser, and it has the exact wavelength that your body cells need in order to gain energy. It's technology that we've had for 40 years, but we've only recently discovered that we can use it for nipples and for cesarean wounds as well. So it just speeds up healing. It's a form of phototherapy, so it's just a little light that we shine on the wound and you can see the wound heal in front of your eyes, which is amazing. I use it even in my first aid kit, yeah? My sons fall out of trees a lot, so straight knees, laser treatments, and it also heals such wounds very nicely.
That's fine, Katinka's your best friend. So we don't get that.
Yeah. Any other horror stories?
Does the something actually have to like happen, or like it happens? It sometimes happens to you, like it always happens to you.
The cracked nipples should not happen to anybody at all. Okay, so if there's a cracked nipple, that's already a sign that things have gone badly. You should stay very, very comfortable. A little bit of soreness in the first 10 seconds because the nipples are being abused a little bit by that baby. Yeah, so baby latches on and you go, ouch, that's sore. All right, that's bearable. Oh, I can't feel anything anymore. That's normal. Within 10 seconds, that pain just goes down. But if you're sitting in bed and tears flowing down your eyes, the whole 20 minutes, something is not right. Yeah? We change something. And don't wait to call me, yeah? When that happens. Okay. Good. I will stay for a little while, yeah? And then I'll sneak out of
And Dr. Mirana's come so that she can tell you about her little lotions and potions for breastfeeding as well. Okay. So I'll just go over, I'll go over breastfeeding, and if you want to ask anything and Katinka can add something, then that's all good. Okay. So first of all, I'll go over the advantages of breastfeeding. There's no real reason that you can't breastfeed, apart from if you don't want to breastfeed. That's the commonest reason why people don't breastfeed. Or mums that have had breast reductions, because often then they're cut into the duct. So there's no reason why you can't breastfeed. Okay. So I'll go over some of the reasons why breast is best. There are many, these are the main ones. So the main one is the bonding. It's the most amazing bond. Not to say that you can't bond when you formula feeding, but breastfeeding is just something very special, and dads, don't feel left out. We'll find something for you to do. But it's a very, very special bond that you build with your baby. Okay. It's labor saving in that you don't need to do anything except plug it on. You don't have to clean bottles. You don't have to worry about Zesa being off. You don't have to sterilize anything. You don't have to do anything except put the baby onto the nipple. Okay. Then allergies and antibodies. So our breast milk is full of antibodies, full of the most delicious, wonderful things that protect our baby against all the bugs and pests, allergies. There can be flu around. Baby is not to say it's not going to get it, but they'll get a lesser severe dose of flu because they're getting all the antibodies from you. So all your antibodies will protect the baby. Okay. Consumer, it doesn't cost you anything except we might like Tinker always laughs at me. Yeah, we need to upgrade. Yes.
Yeah.
Three children in the day. Think of her when you wean and give her a nice one, please.
It did the job. Okay. This is your breastfeeding bra. It has much wider straps. I know they're more dashing now, but they'll have a little clip, here to open so that you can feed the baby. Sorry, can I just quickly take this? Feed. Yes.
Okay. You are getting a really nice basic here. Yeah. So if you feel you need a bit more in depth, or maybe this is your second time and you've got any experience from the previous thing you'd like to debrief, or you have maybe special case like she said, surgery before, or inverted nipples, where you need that one-on-one, then yes. Otherwise, this is going to set you up for those first days. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. You want to talk as well?
I was going to ask a question. I think sometimes in some moms, just getting the baby to latch on is kind of a challenge. So what is, are there some tips?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you are positioning your baby, you want to use all the instincts that the baby already has, that the baby comes with. So there are a couple of reflexes that your baby has that we can use. The first reflex is the rooting reflex. So you will notice if you touch the cheek, the baby automatically turns towards the touch. So if you've got your breast here and they feel it, they'll go, where is it? And then they overshoot and they feel it here and they say, where is it? And then there's a reflex at the top lid that says, open your mouth. So if you touch the baby's top lid, baby is going to go and try and snatch. They will snatch onto everything. Dads, the ear, the nose, they are going to latch onto everything they can get their mouth around. So you want to have the nipple there where the top lid is. And then the mouth is going to open wide. And the next reflex that is used is something touching the palate. And when the nipple is so deep that it touches the palate, the baby starts to suckle. Yum, yum, yum. These are all reflexes that we can use. Now, if you don't touch those points, then the baby is going to get lost. For example, if baby is looking down at your breast and the nipple points towards the tongue, there will be open mouth, nipples right in the mouth, but they are searching. So we sometimes just turn the baby up a little bit and suddenly baby goes, oh, I didn't realize it was right in my mouth. Yeah. So these are the helpful things. If all of this is not working for you, the best reset button is naked baby, naked chest. Go into skin to skin and take a nap in skin to skin. And when this baby wakes up again, they are going to go through these whole reflexes once again. So they are going to actually pick a side and go, whoops, I want this side. And you go, whoa, where are you going? And they will push their arms and they'll kick the legs and they'll find the breast and they'll try and latch on. Yeah, so using that reflex and having the baby relatively undressed if there's any bigger problems often leads to a latch. The other worry that a lot of mums have is my nipple is too flat, too short, too inverted. The baby doesn't really need a nipple to suckle. The breast is enough. However, when your nipple is very, very short, you can imagine that sucking reflex at the top might not be elicited as quickly as you want it to. Then we use breast shaping. You will just shape, and then you have created a longer nipple out of your breast, and whoops, they will get that touch, and they're going. Yeah. So that's like your first aid if a baby isn't latching. Yeah. Vary the positions. Remember those little pressure points: top lip, palate, cheeks. And if that doesn't work and you are now both in tears, then call me for an assessment. Maybe something else is going on.
So I've read so many stories about latching and first.
Yes, yes,
Once baby knows how to latch,
yes.
do they know that? Like
They know that.
I know each feed will be different, but
They know that. In the beginning, it's going to feel very wobbly. Yeah, you don't really know what you're doing. The baby doesn't really know what they're doing. With every successful feed, your baby is getting more confidence. You are getting more confident. So sometimes we actually use a tool to create that first successful feed. Yeah? We don't want this baby to be 3 weeks old and still hasn't realized that that's the restaurant. That's where actually the food comes from. Yeah. So there is always a breastfeeding solution to a breastfeeding problem. Yeah. The bottle is rarely the solution to a breastfeeding problem. Yeah. So try your best, look at some positions, watch a couple of videos, yeah. Just get that muscle memory going. See what your baby needs. Sometimes they even tell you. Yeah, they will be disappearing inside, and then they will be saying, okay, turn here a little bit. And then you go, well, what are you doing? And you turn them a little bit, and they go, oh, okay. And so it's a bit of a dance. You'll get a feeling for it.
Is it bad to have breastfeed and bottle feed?
Absolutely not. But we would like to have the baby establish one skill first. So for the first 4 weeks, we would like the baby to really get the hang of breastfeeding. And then 4 to 6 weeks is a really nice time to introduce that bottle. Especially if you're going back to work, yeah, eventually, then you can pump a little and you can share the feeding for a little bit with husband or with somebody else. But in those first 4 weeks, we really want that baby to learn breastfeeding only, because the skills are completely different. On a bottle feed, if they bite, milk comes out. You can imagine you've got a bottle and you're just squeezing that teat, it shoots out. So very often they then come back to the breast and they start biting. But from the breast, you need a completely different technique to get the milk out. So one thing first, and then we move to bottles. That is if everything is ideal. If we need the bottle as a tool, we use it as a tool. But if everything is fine, first 4 weeks, you're healing, you're lying down, you're breastfeeding, and then the bottle.
So if you're pumping and saving the milk, how long can you save it in the refrigerator for?
6 to 8 days in the fridge, just like that. 6 to 12 months in the deep freezer. 6 hours on the counter. Yeah.
I did send on your notes.
Did you see the storage?
The storage is amazing. It's amazing. Nothing goes to waste. Any questions from the online?
No, thanks. We're all good.
Okay, French.
Right, I'll resume my laughter draft. So we go back to consumer. You just need your bras. Okay, just tucking them away now. You need your bras, your breast pads. So these disposable ones, just use them for like when you go out and about. Otherwise, you can get washable ones. Save our environment. You can wash them, hang them up inside to dry. Okay. Lansino cream. It's pure lanolin. You okay with that, Katinka?
Yeah,
Lansino. It's just a little purple tube. So that's all you need for breastfeeding. Okay, you don't need anything else. And then the colostrum. So from about 32 weeks, you'll have colostrum. You'll have milk. So if baby comes, we'll be able to feed the baby. All right. And you'll have that colostrum for the first few days until your milk comes in. It's the most delicious, nutritious, yummy, bestest thing in the whole wide world. Okay. So if your baby has to go to the neonatal unit for whatever reason, please don't let them give glucose, water, or formula. You can express and give that to the baby. It only needs a teaspoon of colostrum. It's so power packed with all the best things in the whole wide world. Okay. Nature's amazing. It tailor makes everything to suit. Involution. So involution is when you look how your tummy's growing and growing and growing. Okay. Within 6 weeks, because of breastfeeding, it causes your uterus to contract and it goes back to its pre-pregnant state of about 2.5 centimeters, which is quite amazing. And that's just from your breastfeeding causing your uterus to contract. Immunity comes with your allergies antibody. All your immunity for the baby comes through your milk. Okay, so baby's nicely protected. Disease again, allergies, antibodies, immunity, demand feed. We're going to just demand feed, okay? You don't watch the clock. Granny or auntie might say, you've just fed and you're feeding again. Don't be worrying about that. The new way is demand feeding. So long as baby is latched, and I'll go over the latching, Katinka has already said something about it. But as long as baby's latched, you just plug that baby on and let it feed. Don't watch your clock. In time, they'll settle into a little routine. But in the beginning, when you're getting to know the baby, when you're getting to know about the feeding, just plug it in and demand feed. Okay, so don't watch the old clock. Digestible. Breast milk is fabulous. Every last little bit is digested. So after about a month, up to 2 months, you might think, this baby hasn't had a poo for a week. Don't be stressing. So long as there's no temperature, no vomiting, baby digests all of its breast milk. Okay, there's nothing to poo out. So don't be alarmed if it goes up to 7 days without a poo, so long as there's no temperature and no vomiting. Okay. And then I said about the bonding. It comes out at the required temperature. It's not too hot, not too hot, not too cold. It's just right, like Goldilocks and 3 bears. It's just right. Okay. It's sterile, so you don't have to clean anything. You just plug that baby on. It's just amazing, actually. Energy saving, doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to turn on any lights, turn on any microwave, sterilizing machines, as I said earlier. And your mortality rate in the baby is greatly reduced. Okay, there's less chance of cot deaths. We'll do that in the next class. Because the baby is protected, because it gets all the antibodies from you. Okay, so you can see there are lots of reasons why a breast is best. Okay, is anybody going to ask anything on that? No? We're just taking it in. So now I'm just going to do a little bit of, don't laugh at my drawing now. I have old bras.
The drawing is good.
So why I've done that is just a little bit of physiology so you know the importance of latching. All right. So this is the bosom, the breast. And inside here, there's not just one little apparatus like this. It's filled with all of these ducts and sinuses. So when it's time to feed, a little message goes up to the brain and says, feed time. Message comes down, supply some milk. And then it comes into these lobes here, down the sinus into this duct, and then out through the nipple. So why that's important is if baby just latches onto that nipple, two things will happen. You'll get sore nipples, and secondly, you won't get any milk, because when the baby sucks, it must suck the nipple and as much of the areola as possible, because when its little mouth comes down, it squeezes on this little sinus here and out pops the milk. Okay, so if it feeds just on the nipple and you'll be feeding and the baby will be squawking, just check your latch. Okay, make sure it takes as much of the nipple and as much of the areola. If you've got a big areola, you don't have to put the whole thing in the baby's mouth, just as much as you will go into baby's mouth. And then as its little mouth comes down, out comes the milk. Okay, so that's the reason why I just showed you the picture. Okay. Then going on to our milk, it's made up of 3 parts. The colostrum, which I've mentioned, you have that from about 32 weeks up to the first 2 days, 2 or 3 days after the baby's born. It's a nice, rich, yellow, lovely color. You don't need much of it, and I'm sure Katinka does too. You get lots of calls saying, I haven't got any milk, my baby's not getting enough. It only needs a teaspoon. It's so power-packed with all the nutrients. That's all it needs. So even when you express, you're not going to get a bucket full or a bottle full. It's just going to be a wee bit. It only needs a teaspoon. And you can take that down. You can express onto a teaspoon and you can go and give that to baby, because babies are born with the sucking reflex. So you actually don't even need a bottle. I know when I worked at the Mbuya and Ahanda, they don't encourage the mums to go and buy bottles because it's a cost. They can't afford it. So they use a teaspoon or a cup, because if you put the cup there or the teaspoon, because they have the sucking reflex, when you put it there, they just suck and they'll drink it. Okay. So if baby goes to the neonatal unit for whatever reason, you can take your colostrum there and express on a teaspoon. If baby can't go to the breast, they can put it down and there's a gastric tube. If it has to be tube fed, they can put it down there. You don't need glucose water and you don't need formula. You've got it all here in your jugs. Okay. So you'll have that for the first few days and then your milk will kick in. Okay. So the milk is made up of the foremilk and the hind milk. I know we always have this conversation. Foremilk is like your low fat. Okay.
Milk. I call it the milk.
The milk.
And the hind milk, I call it the cream.
The cream. That's okay. So this is your milk.
Sounds a bit more better than water.
The foremilk. Why we say it's like low fat, it's because it's a bluish watery color. That's your thirst quencher. So when the baby first comes to feed, it's thirsty and it sucks. Its thirst is quenched, or it quenches its thirst. And another reason why for the first 6 months, you don't have to give it water, you don't have to give it juice. This is its water. Okay, so that's low in fat, but high in water and minerals. Okay, then once baby's quenched its thirst, then the hind milk kicks in, which is your full cream milk. Okay, the nice creamy part. That's rich in fat and calories, and that's what pumps your baby up. Okay, so if you express your milk and you might see it a little bit watery looking, that's the foremilk. Don't stress. It's another question that mums say is, my milk is too weak, it's too thin. Your milk is tailor-made for your baby. It's not too thick, it's not too thin, it's not too salty, it's not too sweet, it's just delicious. Okay, so that's how your milk's made up. Okay, right. So we'll just go over the scenario of feeding your baby. When you've had your baby, whatever delivery you had. You're going to put it on your chest and do the 9 instinctive stages. Try and feed that baby within the first hour of birth. I know if you've had a Caesar or any intervention, it might take a little bit longer, but that's okay. Within the first hour, you try and feed that baby, okay? Then once the baby's been to the nursery and all its bits and pieces have been done and it comes back to you, it will stay with you until you go home. And when it squawks, plug it in. Because babies have different cries for different things, and it just takes a little bit of time to work out, okay, this is a cry because it's hungry, or this is a cry because it's wet, or it just wants a love. So in the beginning, until you get to know the baby, just plug it in and let it feed. So long as the baby is latched, there's no problem, okay. And like Katinka said, in the beginning, it's a little bit tender because you're not used to having somebody hanging off your nipple 24/7, okay. So it will settle down, but as long as baby's latched nicely, then all is okay, all right. So you will just, when it squawks, you're just going to latch it, okay, feed the baby. The most important thing when you're feeding your baby is, should I do another question?
No, it's fine, that's mozzie.
Is to be comfortable. Okay, so if you've got a nice comfy chair, and remember to bring the baby to you, not you to the baby, otherwise you get a sore back. And we do skin to skin, tummy to tummy. Okay, because if it's like this, it's got to crane its neck around. So you want that tummy against your tummy. So I'm sure you've probably all got feeding cushions or whatever. If you don't have that, then you can put a cushion and bring the baby up to you. All right. If you it's all very new and foreign to you. So baby's little hands might be going like this, and you've got an old-fashioned bra, or you've got a t-shirt that's not quite right. What you can do is you can just put that little baby up so you're not fighting with its little arms, okay? You're going to just express a little bit of milk, okay? And then you're going to rub your nipple on the baby's cheek. As you rub it, its little head will turn. That's, as Katinka mentioned, the rooting reflex. It's rooting, it's looking for the milk. So you just rub your nipple on the baby's cheek, it turns its little head. As it opens its little mouth, you pop it on, okay? And its little lips must be splayed like a fish, like that. But sometimes the little blighters suck on that bottom lip, and you think they're feeding away merrily, meanwhile they're having a nice little suck on their lip, okay? So it must be like a little fish. In one of my pictures that I sent, you'll see its little lips are nicely splayed. I'll show you in the book just now how its lips are. So if it's latched on nicely, you're going to just leave that baby to feed until it either falls asleep or it comes off your nipple. If you haven't got that latch nicely, take the baby off, okay? And you don't just go like this, because it will be hanging onto your nipple and it will be stretching. You must break the suction, okay? And you do that by either putting your finger in the corner of its mouth and you just pull away gently and it'll break the suction. Or you can pull its little chin down and that will break the suction as well. And then redo it, okay? You must make sure that that latch is correct. And that is the only reason not the only reason, but the main reason why I say to you to contact Katinka after the baby's born is to check that latch. Because if that latch is correct, we have no problems. If it's not correct, it leads to the problems that I'll go over with you. Okay, so Katinka is your best friend. She will sort out any problems that you have. And it might just be something simple, but once you've sorted it, you're A for a way. Okay, but if you let it linger, then it becomes a problem, and then breastfeeding is not much fun. Although breastfeeding is instinctive, there is a lot to learn and it's hard work. In a 24-hour period, in that first month, baby feeds for about 8 hours. What a lot of feeding that you do. Okay.
Maternity work, not maternity leave.
Yeah.
So don't get despondent. It does take time, and just chill with your little baby. Okay. just enjoy that time, watching it grow, clumping up on this nice hind milk, getting nice and fat and juicy. Okay. Turn your phone off, just have a nice quiet time until you get yourself established with your feeding. Okay. So you'll just feed until baby falls asleep or comes off. Okay. So if the baby's sleeping, you don't necessarily have to wind it. If it's sleeping, you can pop it down in its crib or carry cot or in the sling with you, doesn't really matter. If it's got a wind, it'll wake itself up anyway. But if the baby's awake, then you can wind it, okay? And just some of the ways to wind the baby, you can just put your little hand like that, okay? Lean the baby forward and we'll all go like this on its back. It actually doesn't do anything, all right? Basically what you want to do is the hands there, you're going to just press up the back. You're like squeezing the wind out. So your hands pressing here and then you rub up its back like that, okay? Or you can pop it over your shoulder and get your shoulder into here and you just rub up its back. We all instinctively go like this, but it's actually not going to do anything. Especially if you have a baby that is troublesome to wind, all right? Or if it really is troublesome, this baby's dirty. You put its head down and you can just rub up like that, okay? For winding. Is there anything you want to ask before I carry on? Waiting, burning question. Are you going to ask it? Okay, good question. So a good thing to remember is finish first, breast first. So you're going to feed baby on the one side and you're going to empty that breast. Okay. On about day 2 or day 3, your milk will come in and you'll, from having big boobs, they will be like watermelons. Okay. So you finish, it'll be full of milk. So you must feed baby on that side till it's soft. Okay. If baby's still awake and wants some more, you can go onto the other side and feed. Okay. But remember, when you come back for the next feed, you're going to feed on this side because it wouldn't have taken much from that side. Okay. So finish first, breast first. Okay. If this boob is, if baby doesn't go onto the second boob, if it's full, you can just express so that it's comfortable. You don't have to empty it, but just until it's comfortable. Okay. So finish first, breast first. So some of the other common questions are, how do I know if my baby's getting enough milk? Okay. Generally, baby will have about 6 to 8 week nappies, all right? In that first month, you go through about 10 nappies a day. Right, so about 6 to 8 week nappies, they pretty much poo after every feed in that first month, okay? Your milk is never, as I said earlier, never too thin, never too thick. And how is my milk made? This is another very important thing. It works on supply and demand. Your body will make enough milk to supply that baby so long as nothing else is going in the baby's mouth. No dummies, no formula, because if you now decide to give it some formula, it'll, a message goes up to the brain to say, oh, we've skipped a feed, cut down the milk supply. Okay, so you will make enough milk for your baby so long as you are resting, because it's when you are resting that your milk is made. Okay, and you'll find if you've had, generally at the end of the day, your milk supply is down because you've been busy, okay? And you'll find in the morning, those hooters will be up a little bit more because you've rested, okay? Don't be tempted when the baby's sleeping to think, I'll just go and do a little bit of computer work, or I'll just go and do some baking, or I'll just go and do some emails. Take that time in the beginning to rest, okay? Because that's how we make our milk, that's how we get to know our baby, how we let our body recover. Okay, so supply and demand, you will make enough milk for your baby as it needs. Baby goes through growth spurts, so you might think, oh, I just fed you and you're squawking again. Round about day 10, 6 to 8 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks, your baby will have a little,
3, 6, 9, 12.
okay. That's an easy thing to remember, 3, 6, 9, 12. It'll have its growth spurt. So and it takes about 24 hours for your body to catch up and make that milk. So it'll just feed, and that's another comment that we get is, my baby's just feeding, I haven't got enough milk. But if you look at about the dates, then you'll know that it's on a little growth spurt. So it's just feeding to catch up the milk supply. Okay. On those emails I'll send you some of the common questions that get asked. If you forget from today, although the dads, you won't forget anything. Katinka, do you want to take this back? Because I haven't used it all. Yeah, I might have somebody in town. Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is there anything you want to ask before I go on to problems or questions? No? Okay. Who's missing? We'll just wait a little bit. You're right, I'll go over the problems and then you can come in with your little lotions and potions that you might need for breastfeeding. Okay. So, like I said with the problems, if you get that latching sorted, then you shouldn't have any problems. But I will go over them so that you know if you have any problems, what to do with them. So the first one is poor latching. Okay, if baby's not latched on properly, you're going to get sore cracked nipples, which are not nice. Should you get those sore cracked nipples, generally it's one side, hopefully not both. You will keep baby off that side for 24 hours, okay? Make sure that your breast pads and your bras are not wet, okay? If they are, change them. Some mums are like Jersey cows and you just, that milk just keeps flowing, so you might have to change your bras and your breast pads quite often. You can, if you've got a nice sunny room, you can put the old nipple in the sun, the 9 o'clock or the 3 o'clock sun, not midday heat, okay, not at the beach. Just put the sun on there for about 10 minutes. And this Lancino cream is very, very good. It's just a small tube. It is quite costly, but you only need just like a tiny incy-wincy little bit of it. And you'll pop it on. If you don't have time to clean it off before you feed the baby, that's okay. It's fine because it's just laminin cream. All right. So sore cracked nipples, keep the baby off for 24 hours. You'll just express so that breast doesn't become engorged. A little bit of sunshine, a little bit of Lancino, keep the bra and breast pads off, or if you do put them on, make sure that they're dry. Okay. If they're bleeding, then you'll need to see Katinka for some of her laser because you don't want bleeding nipples. But don't let it get to that stage. If those nipples are just showing any signs of very, very sore, then contact Katinka so that she can sort it out straight away. Okay. So on about day 2, 3, if you've had a Caesar, your milk comes in a little bit later. The milk comes in and those boobs just become like watermelons. Your best pump is this little blighter. If you have to wake the baby, wake it. Now, I get it quite often where mums say, such a good baby, it's about 2 or 3 days old, slept through the night. We don't want that. Okay, baby mustn't sleep through the night. If it's sleeping through the night, there's a problem and generally it's jaundice. You can have 1 6-hour stretch in a 24-hour period that it sleeps through. Otherwise, it'll wake every 2 to 3 hours or 3 to 4 hours. Okay, you can have 1 5 to 6 hour stretch in a 24-hour period. So don't think if it's sleeping through the night, yes, I've nailed it, I've got a good baby. There's something wrong and it's a very good jaundice. Okay, you must wake it up. So, but if those boobs are getting really full and baby's sleeping nicely, please wake it up and put it on. It's the best pump. It will empty those boobs quickly. Okay, so if you've got these very full boobs, It's quite uncomfortable. Babies empty them and you've still got big boobs. Engorged boobs become very tender. You can hop in a shower, and this doesn't look like a big motion. This just your little fingertips going like this. It makes a big difference. So you'll just stand in the shower and you'll just go around your boobs like this, okay? Or you can get a hot and cold face cloth, alternated, putting it on that engorged boobs. But the bestest thing in the whole wide world is your cabbage leaf. You just get a cabbage leaf. You don't have to take it out the fridge. Some mums put it in the fridge so it's nice and cool. But you just get that cabbage leaf, you stick it in your bra and you leave it there till it's cooked like golden spoon cabbage. Okay, when it's all limp, chuck it away and put another one in. It's an anti-inflammatory, the cabbage, and it is amazing for engorged boobs. I had a young lassie on the farm who, I don't have cabbage in the garden, I just had some rape there. So we got some rape, put it on her breast because she was engorged, and you could just see the milk streaming out. So while she was with me, we got that milk flowing nicely. So if you want to, you can put it in the fridge, cut a hole for the nipple. I didn't bother, I just shoved it in there. When it's cooked, toss it out, put another one in. It really is very good. It's a whole lot easier than standing in the shower doing this, I promise you. So engorged boobs, you must keep them, you don't have to empty them, but they must be soft and comfortable, okay. If you don't treat engorged boobs, this will lead on to mastitis, okay. So one of these ducts here will become blocked and the bugs like to grow in there. So how do I know if I've got mastitis? You'll have like achy joints. It's like you've got flu. There'll be an area on your breast that's tender. Either you'll have like a wedge shape, triangular shape, red area. I'd always go here because it's normally under here or on the outside. Okay, so you might have a red streak or it's like a red triangle area and it'll be tender. It'll be boiling hot and you'll be freezing cold, achy joints. So if you have mastitis, go to your GP, they'll give you an antibiotic that's safe while you're breastfeeding. Put yourself to bed for 24 hours with the baby, take paracetamol for the achy joints, painful breast, and you feed the baby on that side. You can feed on that side because you're on an antibiotic, so it's not going to harm the baby. You want to empty that breast, okay? If this is the area that's uncomfortable, maybe change the position of the baby. So instead of feeding like this, you do the football hold. Okay, so this is a nice feed for a Caesar, so that you haven't got the baby on your tummy here. And for Shanae, who's going to have twins, you can do one like, you can do two like this, or you can do one conventional and one like this. Okay, but by baby changing position, it empties different ducts in your breast. Okay, so that's your mastitis. And then untreated mastitis can lead to an abscess. You can still feed with an abscess. Again, I had another lassie on the farm who had, she had a couple of abscesses. She was very, very young and just couldn't manage this whole thing. And we managed to treat her with that. But if you have an abscess, it's got to be incised and drained. But you can still feed with that. Okay, but you don't want to get to that stage of an abscess. So those are the commonest problems: sore and cracked nipples, mastitis, engorgement, mastitis, and then an abscess. But I promise you, if you contact Katinka right at the beginning, you won't have any problems. And generally, if you're going to have any problems, it's normally within the first 3 weeks of having your baby that we have the problems. Thereafter, all's tickety-boo. How long to feed for? There's no time limit. For the first 6 months, you just solely breastfeed. Baby doesn't need juice, it doesn't need porridge to make it sleep through the night, as people think. It doesn't need anything. So for the first 6 months, you just breastfeed. Thereafter, it's entirely up to you how long you want to breastfeed for. 2 years is what they say is the optimum, but it's entirely up to you how long you breastfeed for. No pressure from anybody to say you're still breastfeeding. You just breastfeed for as long as it suits you. Katinka's really good for if you have to go back to work, that transition from the breast to going back to work, how to do that. Okay, she will sort you out with weaning the baby, whichever way you decide. Okay. Is there anything you want to ask? Are you girls all right there in Zoom?
Yep.
I was going to ask if you. Oh, go.
Carry on.
I was going to ask if you are breastfeeding and then you're introducing the bottle. How do you navigate that?
Call Katinka.
Okay.
I tell you, yeah, Katinka, so sucking the breast and sucking a bottle are two different ways because they put the nipple into their palate in a different way. Are you meaning to so that dad can feed the baby?
Exactly.
So if you cannot do it in the beginning, just so that you establish your milk supply and you get things going. Once you're ready for that, then honestly give Katinka a call because some babies won't take a bottle and then it's
Okay.
a bit tricky. So if you want to do that, then yeah, do get hold of Katinka because she will navigate you through that so that you don't have any shippers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah? Anyone else on Zoom? No? Okay, so if there are no more questions, then I'll let Dr. Nurai talk on her homeopathic lotions and potions for breastfeeding. Yeah?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, you've covered quite a bit. I think in the experience I've had with new moms is if the milk isn't coming, they really take it personally. So they become quite emotional. So it doesn't mean that you're a bad mom. It's just that we need to get the biology to start working and kicking in. And breast milk is really, really important. Talking about the importance, because when your baby is born, the immune system isn't all developed. So you are providing all of that. So breastfeeding is really, really helpful for that. And there's more that goes into breastfeeding than in pregnancy. Although I know right now you're probably like, what? But lactating actually takes a lot more metabolism. It takes a lot more work. So it's important for you to remain hydrated and then also eating well because you're the factory for this baby. So just making sure you're staying hydrated and also eating well. And also watching your child based on what you're eating, because when your baby is either gassy or something's happening or they end up with a rash. So sometimes it's just really mindful to just watch what you're eating because that's going straight to your baby. Sometimes you might have to cut out stuff. I'm just trying to think.
Mangoes. I know one lassie had mangoes and the baby came out well.
So just watching, your baby. Yeah, things in moderation. Sometimes certain spices that might affect the baby. So just be mindful of that. Did you have a question? I'm trying to remember.
Just drink to your needs.
Yeah.
2 liters is plenty, yeah. But you don't have to drink to your needs. You actually get thirsty when you breastfeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just drink to your needs. Yeah. And they also say one thing, Serena. If you are engorged, you must cut down on your water supply.
Mm-hmm.
No, just keep drinking normally. Yeah.
So they already gave you the secret of the cabbage that, it's been used for centuries. The other thing you can do if you have cracked nipple is to use aloe vera gel. But before you start to breastfeed, you need to clean it off. So that kind of helps just moisturize your nipple. But make sure just before you start breastfeeding, you wipe it off. There are lots of herbs that you can't take when you're breastfeeding. I think last year I got several calls from moms because remember Zimbabwe became like the tea of choice, and you can't take Zimbabwe. There's lots of herbs that you can't take. Either they stop the milk production or they're way too powerful for your baby. So the herbs that are really, really good, especially for milk production, raspberry leaf tea. Nettle. And nettle is really good because it also has very good minerals in it as well. You can also use catnip. Yeah.
Yeah, but lots of that if you guys.
So how would you do the catnip? Do you make a tea?
You make a tea.
Oh, okay.
So you know, for me, I usually what I found the best is to make a mixture of it.
Okay.
Lemon balm is very good. And the nice thing about that, you know, it's very calming. So you know, your factory needs you to be in a calm state, right? So just making sure you have lemon balm. Moringa is really, 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 really good. It's very high in nutrients. It also
You take
helps.
the capsules.
Yes, you can take.
It's terrible.
I know it tastes. Yeah, so you can take capsules. Yes, moringa. Moringa is really good. It's high in protein and other, lots of different nutrients, but it also helps with milk production as well.
And going back to that lassie that had a breast abscess, she was only 18 and just didn't have a clue. They have no money. Her mother, she lived with her grandmother. They were on just a measly worker's salary. And I got her some moringa from Bon Marché. Promise you, because they went and bought a tin of milk. And a tin of milk, I don't know, I forgot to ask Katinka, but a tin of milk lasts you 3 or 4 days. I don't know what a tin of milk costs you. It's expensive, and on a worker's salary, she went and bought her granny bought her a tin of milk, and it was just like, we can't do this. That moringa, I promise you, her milk production was up like that. It's amazing stuff.
You can also take it while you're pregnant because it gives you good nutrients as well. So sometimes you can mask the taste if you're doing a smoothie. It's added into smoothies. The other thing that you don't get in breast milk is vitamin D. So if you're taking omega-3s or taking vitamin D, that ensures that your baby gets that, and you really need that for brain development and immune development for your child as well.
Good dose of sunshine.
Yes, and fenugreek is another one.
How much vitamin D safe to take when you breastfeed? Because I know it counts in my
Yeah, it's
small
I use I wouldn't do more than 1,000 I use. But you can do that by going out in the sunshine and
15 minutes a
yeah,
day.
no, just when your skin is turning a little bit red and tingling, that's enough time, amount of time in the sun.
Do you need vitamin D when you're taking multivitamin?
It depends on the type, you know, the brand and the quality of multivitamin you're taking and how much is in there. But just sitting out in the sun would be good. Mm-hmm. And fenugreek is another one that's really, really good for increasing breast production.
Do you have
breast milk.
all those in little tablet forms?
I make a tea, but I can make them. I did do raspberry leaf tea for and make them into tea bags because somebody didn't want to, you know, the hassle of using the dry leaves. Or we can make them into capsules. We're able to do that.
You don't make the tea.
So I usually just make a whole mixture,
Oh, okay.
and then you just make that for your tea. Yeah, and use a tea strainer.
Drink it as often as.
Yes, because each one of us reacts differently to the herbs. So somebody might need to drink 2 cups or 3 cups. Yeah. Any questions? Yes. Yeah.
So would you only start drinking the tea once you've given birth, or would you recommend a few weeks before?
Once you've given birth. Because, you know, there's no, whether you have small boobs, it doesn't matter, you know, small boobs, big boobs, have women with big boobs, and then they don't have milk production. So it's just waiting to see how much milk is coming. Yeah. But the raspberry leaf tea is very good for getting you ready for delivery. So raspberry leaf tea it's an amazing tea.
Yeah.
long before did you say to start the raspberry leaf tea?
Like 36.
Okay,
Yeah.
so from 36 weeks, if you want to go the homeopathy route, then you go and see your aunt. She'll give you all your little lotions and potions. I know I just took the raspberry leaf tea when I went into labour, but from 36 weeks you can start getting your raspberry leaf tea.
Cup a day.
Once you go into labour, you just suck on that tea.
That's so funny. Yeah, you could do that. You can add honey. You can add honey or lemon, a little bit of ginger. You can also have ginger as well. That's also very good because sometimes people have indigestion. And I think postpartum, a lot of it is very emotional for lots of mom, right? And your hormones are completely dipped, right? First, you've just kind of got a big influx of energy of hormones, and then all of a sudden you have a baby, and then so you might feel emotionally. So like lemon balm really helps. Also taking rescue remedy kind of really helps, kind of just settle you, because there's a lot of new things that are happening, and your emotions affect your milk production as well. Any questions for me?
Zoom girls, do you want to ask anything?
No, all good.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sharon. So what foods, I mean, obviously I'm probably something, what foods should be avoided?
With breastfeeding, no. There's nothing that you shouldn't take with your breastfeeding. The only thing they say that can upset the baby in the first few months is chocolate. Sorry, girls. It's like chocolate. Yeah. It's like while you're pregnant, everything in moderation.
Yeah.
You know, some people say you can't drink. I mean, you can't eat onions, you can't eat garlic.
But that's just based on your baby. Like, is your baby gassy? Then you just know, oh, what did I eat yesterday? I had a lot of onions and garlic, so maybe tone down on that. Or dairy. Sometimes for babies that end up with rashes, it might be dairy. So just kind of tracking what it is that you're eating, and if you see that reaction in the baby, just cut that out for a little bit.
So if you have a family history of allergies, then you'll just, if your baby does come out in rashes or eczema, then your causative factors are generally your dairy and your gluten. But we don't give that when you put the baby onto solids. You don't generally start that until they're over a year. Dairy and gluten, you wait. There's a lovely lady on Instagram. She's fantastic. It's SR_nutrition. Follow her for, obviously you haven't had your babies now, but later on she's really good with tips and helping you with all those sort of things. And her first baby was an easy baby. The second one was a nightmare. Everything that could go wrong with breastfeeding went wrong. She's just a little holy terror. But she's a lovely person to watch for that. But you can, alcohol, smoking, remember any drugs, because whatever goes in your mouth comes to the baby. Okay, but like while you're pregnant. So for the first 3 months, certainly alcohol, I wouldn't have that. It's entirely up to you, but it often just puts them a bit out of kilter. Yeah, but everything in moderation. If you have had a lot of like broccoli or collie or peas, those wormy things, and you notice your baby the next day is very uncomfortable and miserable, then just cut down on it. Okay, but it's like I say, everything in moderation. You?
Having natural, some reason first.
Yes. So there's some homeopathic remedies for that. Now I'm trying to think.
Do you do the bogotmiddel?
No, I don't know what that is.
It's an old Dutch recipe, the bogotmiddel. Shamrock Pharmacy, I know I used it for my babies. Shamrock Pharmacy down here.
Is it like rice water?
It's just in a little bottle. It's all natural.
Okay.
It's still, I don't know what the other, we'll do colic next week. Yeah, but if in a rise, got
Yeah, but you see, with homeopathy, we're not only looking at the physical condition, but you'd have to tell me, oh, my baby's clingy, or, yeah, then the remedy will also come along with that.
So you would go and see your eye, and she'll make up for it.
But the first couple of weeks, keep cabbage in the fridge.
Yeah, it is, it's amazing.
It's totally amazing. Great. Any other questions?
Okay, so if that's all on breastfeeding, then I'm going to do bathing a baby. You're so welcome to stay and watch bathing, but if you have to go somewhere else. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming here.
Oh, my pleasure.
So if you need anything
Thank you.
herbs wise for breastfeeding, colic, etc., then yeah, and even from 36 weeks on, if you want to do the homeopathic route, then just give Nurai a call and go and see her, and she will work out all your lotions and potions.
And I sent you an article of all the different herbs that you can take, but I did write 2 other articles postpartum, like self-care for that uses natural herbs. So I'll just share those with you.
Thank you. Yeah, then I'll send it out to the girls.
Okay.
Thanks, Nurai.
Bye.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Nurai. Bye-bye. Okay, so we'll just do bathing of the baby. If you want to stretch your legs while I set up, you're so welcome to do that. I know it's long, lots to take in, especially the mums. I just wanted to show the little fish lips. So on Zoom, can you see the little fish lips there? How the baby's lips must be? Yeah.
Yep, can see.
Okay, that's how their little lips must be on your breast. So if you want to pass that around, they must just be like that, like a little fish. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to set up for a bath, and then for Zoom, we'll just change my. Okay. You all got Katinka's phone number here on my notes. Ask you to just pop that there and position it so they can see the bar, or maybe up there. Can I let you sit?
Oh, yes, it's got to be down. It's going down that table.
Yeah. Oh, there we are. Can you see on Zoom?
Yes.
So, bathing the baby. Bathing the baby, you can bath the baby any time of day. You can bath the baby anywhere you like. In a cooler box, in the basin, in a bath, in a nice baby bath. It doesn't really matter. Okay. And there seems to be the trend at the moment is you don't have to bath your baby every day, especially after it's just been born, because of all the nice microbiomes, all those delicious bugs that baby has from you. We don't want to wash them all off. Okay. So where you bath it, when you bath it, it's okay to do that, whatever suits you. The most important thing when you're bathing the baby is to have everything ready. Have a nice warm room, no draft. So you would close the windows so that there's no draft on the baby. And in the beginning, when you're bathing the baby, it's literally wash in and out. It's not Gucci playing. Okay. Some babies don't mind, but they generally squawk until they get a little bit bigger, and then they start taking notes. And this is where it's nice for the dads to take the bathing role. When they're a little bit bigger, you can hop in the bath with the baby and bathing. And then mum can just have 5 minutes to catch her breath. Okay. So nice warm room, have everything ready. So if you're going to bath the baby in the baby's room or in the bathroom, just have your water. If it's in the baby's room, have your water there. If you've had a Caesar, remember no lifting of baby buckets. Okay. So, and you put everything out ready as how you're going to dress the baby. Okay. So you have the jersey first, the baby robe, then the little vest. These vests with the envelope sleeves are quite nice because they're easy to slip over the baby's head. Okay. And then the nappy. So I'll do my little environment, little splurb. Are you all going to use terry nappies? What are you going to use? Yeah. Okay, we've got to look after our environment because these, I don't know how long they take or if they ever dispose of, and there's lots of babies being born. If you keep these for, like, if you're going out and about, they are easy. But now you get these bamboo nappies, they're all made up like a disposable nappy, and there's just a little thing in the middle there that you take out and you wash. Otherwise, these terry nappies, you know, we've got the sunlight, we've got somebody to do our washing for us, so it makes sense to use these terry nappies. So these are the firstborn ones. I have to tell you, these have been through 3 children. Look after them, they love. And these are the first size, okay? And Merlin still make a brilliant, I think David Whitey have them, still make brilliant nappies. And then these are the bigger size, okay? So I'll just quickly tell you how you look after your clothes. Not literally, I'm just saying the way is, you know, sunlight green soap, the old green bar and the yellow paper. That is so good because it's not perfumed. So what you do, if you get a big bar, you just grate it, put it in a container and dry it. And then paint buckets, those big 20-litre paint buckets. If you use those, just a good habit if you do use them to make sure those lids are on properly because a lot of drownings happen in those buckets, so make sure the lids are on properly. So what you would do is every day you would make up a solution of one bucket has your steri nappy, if you're going to use the toweling or those bamboo ones, you make up a solution of steri nappy, put that in, and when you change your baby, if you use the conventional one, you get these liners. You don't throw these away every time. If they've done a wee, you just rinse it and chuck it in the bucket. If they've done a poo, you just drop the poo in the toilet, rinse this into your bucket. Nappy and rinse, just chuck it in your bucket. You leave that overnight, and the next day, if there's a bit of stain from the poo, just get your green bar, keep a bit of green bar, and she washes by hand, and then you chuck it into the washing machine to rinse. Rinsing is the most important thing with your napkins, okay? And then your other buckets, that green soap, you just chuck a handful, you've grated it, chuck a handful every day in some hot water and it dissolves. And then the clothes, you just chuck them in, you don't have to wash it every day. But sometimes, if their little poo leaks out onto the baby girl or the milk, it stains the collar. So you just give a little with the green bar, and then she washes it, chuck it in the washing machine to rinse it. Okay, it saves looks after your clothes and your nappies, and they'll last for seconds and thirds and okay, so going back to bathing, make sure you have everything ready. That's my environment switcher, by the way. Everything ready as you're going to use it. So whether it's terry napkins or disposables. As far as keeping their little feet warm, I like booties just because I know it's very old fashioned. And the socks are so cute that you get, but they often leave little marks on the baby's ankles here. There's these little booties those are the little sockets. You can put on after. Babies use the greatest amount of heat from their heads, okay? So if your baby isn't born with a mop of hair, you might want to just get a little woolly hat and put that on, especially after a bath. They don't have to sleep with their little hat on, but after a bath, they don't have much body fat, so they get cold very quickly, okay? So they lose the greatest amount of heat from their head. Also, they don't have a lot of body fat, so they get cold very quickly. Hence why the bath is chop chop in and out. Okay. Lotions and potions that you use to wash your baby, please keep them simple. I know there's so many on the market now, but I promise you good old Aqueous cream with no scent does the job to wash them and to cream them. Okay. Shampoos, good old Johnson & Johnson or Elizabeth Ann's, one of those ones that have been around for a long time. But just keep the scents to a minimum because their skins are so sensitive. You don't need talcum powder. When the little girls are a little bit big, if they want to put a bit of talcum powder, they can do it when they're able to do that. You don't need talcum powder for babies. Okay. If you have anything ready, then running the water, it's a good idea to get into the habit of running the cold first, followed by the hot, because when those babies are a little bit bigger, they're toddlers, and you turn the bath on and you run out the bathroom and they plop in, it's better to plop into a bath of cold water than hot water. So it's just a good habit to get into, to run the cold and run the hot. How hot do I need the bath? Well, every baby's different. You check either with your elbow or with your palm, okay, never with your fingers. So just warm. And you'll think it's warm for you, and baby will squawk and squawk and squawk. Might be a bit too hot, but might be a bit too cold. So if you see they're crying when you're bathing the baby, just check the temperature. That might not be quite right. Okay, like Goldilocks. So water in, clothes ready. Try not to bath when baby's in a crying or irritable or not in a good mood, or if you just feed the baby, because if you feed the baby then you bath it, it's just going to bring all that milk up. So you just got to time it just right. Okay. So let's get our baby. And another thing. You get lots of nice towels with hoods on, but if you haven't got one with a hood, don't worry. You can just use a normal bath towel, and all you do is you just fold the top over like that. Okay, so we're ready to bath the baby. So you're going to leave your clothes on, okay, and then you're just going to wrap it in the towel. We're going to wash baby's hair first. Can you all see okay on Zoom?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to wash baby's hair first. Put the towel on, tuck it under your hip. You're going to block its little ears, okay, with your fingers. You see there? So, like that. Then you just take your shampoo. It's a good idea to wash their hair because then you get used to having their hair washed. Put a little bit of shampoo on their hair. Wet it first, a little bit of shampoo, and then you just give it a little wash. Even if they don't have much hair, just give it a wash, especially if they've still got a little bit of after your delivery, okay? And then you rinse it off, okay? And then you just pull the back of the towel up like that. And you dab and dry. Because remember, they lose a lot of heat from their hair. Okay, so you want to dry it. Then you're going to wash their little face. You can either use a face cloth or cotton wool. Okay, so you'll get the little cotton wool or face cloth, and you're just going to wet it, squeeze most of the water out, and you're just going to wipe the top of its eyes, under its nose, under its lips, under its chin, because those are the babies that have fat little chins, and all the milk goes down and then it gets a bit smelly. So under the chin, up and around, and the outside of the ear. You never put anything in your ear, adults included, except your elbow. I'm not waiting to go there. Okay, you don't need earbuds. You don't need anything. All you want to do is clean the outside of the ear. That wax is there for a reason. Don't try and pull it out. Okay, it will all come out on its own. So you just clean the outside of the ear. Okay, so clean one side, then clean the other side. Okay. And then we're going to undress the baby. Remember, baby can't stretch through yet, so you have to do everything for the baby. So we're going to take its clothes off. Its little nappy, it's got a dirty bum, just wipe it, chuck it in your bucket. And then if you use the liquid soap or just the aqueous, wet your hands, cream your hands, okay? And then lift the towel off, and you're just going to cream the wash. You see that at the back. You just go under the neck, all the way down its body and legs, okay? Not its hands. Remember, hands are the first thing to go in its mouth. So you just clean its little body all the way down and then into the bath. And when you hold the baby, you put your hand under its head and hold the arm furthest away. Put your hand under its leg and hold the furthest leg, and you'll never drop it. Okay. So for dads, I've written this here. Small and helpless, but not breakable. I know when the dads first see the babies, they're like, oh, this is so tiny. The sooner you hold your baby, the better. Okay. So, and if you hold them like this, you'll never drop them. All right. So then in the bath they go. If you've got a nice little stand, pop the baby on there. If you haven't, it's okay. Pop the baby in, and you're going to rinse that soap off. Okay. And then you're going to get some more soap. You're going to wash its little hands in its nether regions, rinse it off, sit it forward, some more soap, wash its back and its body, rinse off, and out we come. There's no dilly-dallying around in the bath. It's in and out, and no one's talking. Okay. Put it in the towel, and then you just give it a nice little snuggle while it's bending its eyes out, and while it's crying and you're soothing it, you're patting it dry. Okay. Pat, 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 dry. And then you're going to dress it as quickly as you can. Okay. So when you dry the baby, you're going to dry all the folds. Okay. So under its little neck, all right, in the arm, in the elbow here, the wrist, in the little groin behind the legs here, and the ankles. Okay. Then you do the same on the other side. In all the little creases, especially as they start getting a bit chubby. Then it becomes those little pieces. Okay. And then you can cream it with some aqueous, put the cream in your hand, rub it so it's not cold going onto the baby, and then you just cream it all the way down, not its little hands. Okay. And then you're going to dress the baby now. So the first thing you'll do is pop the nappy on. Remember, those first poos in the first few days until your milk comes in, they have a black sticky poo called meconium. Okay, so when that baby's born, make sure you put lots of Vaseline or whichever bum cream you're going to use because it is sticky. Well, you won't forget the next time, right? Because you like trying to get this off. Okay, so put the cream on the baby's bottom. All right. And remember to keep the cord out of the nappy. Okay. I know a lot of peds now are saying don't do cord care. I had a little baby the other day where the peds said that, and this cord, why we do cord care is we want to dry it out and it to fall off. All right. This little cord was like this piece of biltong stuck on its tongue here. It's like, we want to get that off. So the cord care, it doesn't hurt the baby, okay, it's just cold. If you make up a little jar of cotton wool and put some methylated spirits or surgical spirits in, okay, so that it's on your change table, then every time you change the baby's nappy, you can do the cord care, okay. And you do that until, but it's up to you because it seems to be the peds are trembling, but when I saw this little dried piece of biltong sticking, it was just so awkward to change the baby for the baby, you know, to hold the baby because it's this hard piece of biltong sticking there. You know, I don't know. So keep the cord out of the nappy. I know some of these disposables now have a little place for the cord. You keep it out. So you pop the nappy on first, because invariably they do a wee or a poo. And then you put the vest on. So you just have to feed everything through. Okay. So over the little head like that. You feed the little hands through. Okay. Feed that little hand through. And then the baby grown. Okay. Again, I'm going to feed everything through. So you tend to find that the dads bath the babies, so mums, when dads bath the babies, if they put the baby grown back to front or the nappy back to front, don't compensate. So that's the advice then if you bath the baby or change it. Okay. But just say thanks, yeah. Okay. So now we're going to do the cord here. So what you do is it's attached to the hook. So you've got that cord like that, and then your cord clamp. So you just take a piece of cotton wool, hold the cord up like that, and you clean at the base of the cord. So from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And baby will cry, but it's not sore, it's just cold, okay. And then chuck that away, take another piece of cotton wool, and you clean up the front of the cord and the back. And that will dry it out and it will fall off. Okay. When that cord falls off, sometimes at the base of the umbilical cord, it might need a little bit. Don't stress, just clean it with a little bit of salt water or betadine, whatever you've got, until it's nice and clean. If a cord becomes infected, however, it's infected, it'll be a bit smelly. You might see little streaks around the baby, you might have a temperature. If that happens, then you'll need to go and see your GP for them to give the baby something. But if you keep it out of the nappy and do that cord care, it shouldn't become infected.
How long until that cord sort of comes off?
If you do cord care, about 5 minutes. If you don't, this baby was about 2 weeks. And it was, you know, I was horrified. I was trying to get this thing off, but it was so dry.
Can you only use nets?
Generally, because it burns.
Surgical spirit?
Yeah, nets or surgical spirits, it's fine. It's fine. So I think no, it's fine because you need cord care. Okay. So, and just keep it out the nappy. And you dress your little baby up. And then if it hasn't got, but the woolly hat on, the baby doesn't have much hair, or if it's like today's been a chilly day, then you pop the little woolly hat on. And then you can wrap it up. So you just get a pull that, just trim the top over like that. You can, if you don't have a hat, you can make your own hat. Just put it like that. Over the top like that. Small people don't feed it. So that can have eczema and if you choose to do that night time, in the first, don't worry too much about eating. That all comes in time. In that first month, you're just feeding away. And if, like when you bath the baby, you think, oh, what did Lindsay say I should do this? Don't worry. This is just a guide. If you forget, you'll find your own little path. Okay. This is just a guide to get you through the basics of bathing. All right. Sorry, when you're dressing the baby, how do you know to dress them too warmly? Okay, so for nighttime, I would put a vest and a long leg bra. Okay. If it's like October, you probably could skip the vest or have a vest and a short baby birth. You check the warmth of the baby by putting your hand at the back of its neck. That's great. Don't feel its hands and feet, okay? But if you put the hand at the back of its neck, that's a good indication of its heat, okay? Or if you see its face is bright red, you'll know you've got one too many blankets on. Or if its lips are blue, you know it's a bit chilly, okay? But you will work it out. But when they're little like that, you do need to keep them nice and warm. So at least in a long day. But if it's like a chilly day now, you could probably put a jersey on. But don't put them to bed with a woolly hat on. Okay. Make sure you have a nice, well-ventilated room. Always keep a window open. Obviously, not the draft coming onto the baby, but you always want a nice ventilated room. And you'll see when you do conflicts next week. So when they're a little bit bigger and you're getting into a little routine, you can do like a bath and then a feed, and then while you're feeding, you can read a story to the baby. So you're slowing down the end of the day. Okay. And then put baby down to sleep for the evening. Okay. Because also by the end of the day, you're exhausted. You also want to catch 40 legs. Yeah. So the first month, don't stress too much. Even the second month, you'll slowly find your way around and get a little routine. And babies respond to the routine. But don't get bogged down in the first month or so about a routine. You'll see into that.
And if you don't want to bath a baby straight away,
then you top and tail it. So all you do is wash its little face, remember under its chin and its nether regions.
and do they clean it enough and it's good to leave them for a bit?
Yeah, because the new trend is with all these microbiomes, the goodness of all those organisms on you for the health of the baby. So they're not recommending bathing as often as we did. We used to bath as soon as the baby was born, we bath and then we did the show bath for months and they bath every day. But if you know, and it takes a long time from the time you start till the time you finish, and at the end of the day, you're tired. So if you've like had a bad hair day, you can just top and tail. It's fine. And if Granny comes and says, "You bathed your baby," it's all right, Granny. It's okay. Just top and tail. Wash its little face and its nether regions, and it's fine. Yeah. Anything else in that? Yeah, dads, you're all ready to bath the baby. You've got it right. Is there anything else you want to ask? Yeah.
I was just asking about like in July the weather is a bit winter.
Yeah.
So do we use long sleeve
Baby grow.
vest?
Oh no, you could just use the short sleeve, and then if you've got a long baby grow, or if you use a long vest and a long baby grow, then you won't need a jersey on top. Yeah, you'll just see how warm your house is, or you know how baby responds to the cold. Yeah. But you can use long sleeve vests, then and long sleeve baby grow, and then you won't need a jersey. If you use a short one and a long sleeve baby grow, everything's trial and error. You'll see. I know my elder said I used to bake her. Surely you must be cold. Meanwhile, she was boiling hot. Same as the bath. I thought it was nice and warm. And as soon as I cooled it down, she was like, "Oh, this is hot." So just play around and do it right. There's no manual to be used. Zoom girls, is there anything you want to ask?
Nope.
Okay, guys. So shall we clock out then from Zoom, and I'll see you next Monday, same time, same place.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Okay. Okay, bye guys. Have a good evening.